or hello, everybody. For those of you that I haven't met yet, actually, I'm curious if you haven't met me yet, say yes or no in the chat. Yes, you've met me before. No, you haven't. Just trying to understand. Okay, a lot of no's. Good, 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 good.
Ooh.
Okay, sweet, love it. Well, I'm Kenny. Nice to meet you all. I've done about 100 of these, so I thought maybe at this point most people would know me, but it's so cool because we get so many new users every week that it's just no one knows me because there's just so many new people. Like I said, my name is Kenny. I have been at Whatnot for almost 3.5 years, and I am on the community team. The community team here at Whatnot is focused on developing and putting on programs that help educate sellers at scale while sort of fostering this human to human connection, which is what makes Whatnot so special. And our work shows up in things like IRL events, educational content, webinars. And we also have this channel here, which is called Whatnot Sellers. And this is the official seller facing account on Whatnot. And its primary purpose, again, is to kind of bring sellers together across all categories and bring educational content that can help you either learn new things or become inspired, etc. And so we've got a whole lot of shows already scheduled here. And if you're not following this account, I'd suggest you do so if you're a seller. And then, of course, you can bookmark any of the shows that kind of are interesting to you. And we got some good ones next month lined up. And so today we're going to be talking about shipping. So all things shipping. We know that shipping is, especially for newer sellers, one of the top sort of things that's, newer sellers have questions around. And so we want to make sure that there's a ton of educational resources already out there that we're going to talk about that you can have access to as a new seller or even as an experienced seller with regards to shipping. But this is a good opportunity. Today, I brought one of our product designers who sort of designs all of the shipping stuff on the platform. And her name is Sarah, and it's Sarah's first time here. So welcome to Whatnot Sellers, Sarah.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So cool to have you. Love the pink motif. It's like very colorful, very nice.
Yes, indeed.
Everybody say hello to Sarah, and I'm super happy to have her on. The way we're going to do this, chat, is I kind of wrote down some questions that I want to ask Sarah. These are some of like the top questions that I hear from sellers. So we're going to run through that. Now, if you've got any questions for Sarah as it relates to shipping, and again, try to keep the questions broad and not like specific, like very technical specific questions, more broad questions that will, probably help other sellers if they heard the answer type of thing. We'll, drop those in the chat, and our mod, Casey, shout out to Casey. She's running the poll here. She's doing all the things in the background. She's going to be pulling those questions, putting them aside, and we're going to get to as many as we can towards the end of the show. So again, if you have a question for Sarah as it relates to shipping in a broad level, drop it in the chat and we'll get to as many as we can. And I guess let's kick it off with what I brought to the table. And so, Sarah, before we do that, would love to just have a quick intro. What team are you on? What is your work focus on? Maybe, and what's your favorite category on Whatnot?
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm a product designer here at Whatnot. I've been here about 2 years, and I mostly focus on logistics, which means I help design the tools that you all use to ship your goods to your buyers. So that's designing mobile experiences as well as the web, and really looking at it holistically from end to end and thinking about shipping, fulfillment, logistics, all that good stuff.
Awesome. And again, chat, our goal today is kind of share how shipping works at a high level and some best practices around it. There is a poll up there. You don't have to participate in the poll. If you'd like to, it'll be great. And then we also are running a giveaway. We're going to be running these guys, these wind up Wuddy desk toys. You kind of wind it up and it walks across your desk. So pretty cool. Maybe you get one of those. And okay, let's get it started, Sarah. Let's talk through sort of the key steps around shipping. Let's start like pre-show, right? So there's like, before you even go live, tell us about pre-show setup, and sort of what are the things that you think sellers should keep top of mind when they're doing their pre-show flow?
Yeah, for sure. I think first thing is to get all of your supplies prepared. So your packaging, printers, especially for new sellers, really figure out what you're going to need based on what you're selling. That's going to make shipping out your orders after your show a lot faster and easier and not feel as overwhelming. So depending on the category or categories that you're selling in, you might need boxes or sleeves or poly bags and other packing materials. And we can touch a little bit more on that later.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, and then in regards to actually preparing for your show and thinking about the app and what you need to do there, I think the most important thing is making sure that every item that you're going to be running has the right shipping profile. So, for those of you who maybe are newer sellers or are not as familiar, during your show, when buyers make purchases, we automatically bundle those purchases into shipments in order to give buyers the best shipping prices and make fulfilling your shows more streamlined for you afterwards. So you have fewer packages that you need to ship. In order to bundle those purchases correctly, you want to make sure that the shipping profile that you select for each item is correct. And I can go into more detail in a little bit about shipping profiles, but basically they're just presets that help us understand what you're shipping. So when you create items into your inventory, you go in and select the shipping profile that best matches the item, its weight and size, that the item that you'll be selling. You can also go in and create custom shipping profiles. We have some presets in there, and you can create your own where you enter in specific weight, set your own bundling rules. You could say, hey, I know that 2 of these items will fit in the box that I have, so only bundle 2 of these together. And then one other thought I had for some of our newer sellers as well, if you're wanting to preview what the shipping prices will look like based on those profiles, you can view your shop through a different profile, like a trusted friend, have them take a look. You could do a private show and pin them, and they can kind of see what the pricing is looking like for them. So that's a way for sellers to kind of get a preview if you're not as familiar with how those will show up. And then the last thing before your show is just to double check your show settings. When you go to create your show, it'll inherit your default shipping settings. That includes like local pickup and carrier specific choices. But you'll want to make sure that those are selected and set exactly how you want them before you run your show.
Amazing. Those are really good tips. And I guess shipping profiles, it can be very useful if you're like, say you're selling for example, you're a sneaker seller, and so you're selling sneakers, right? And so like that the average sneakers, they're all going to weigh more or less the same and sort of be the same size. And so, for me, for example, I sell Hot Wheels with my nephew. So, we have a shipping profile for Hot Wheels because a Hot Wheel is always going to weigh within an ounce or 2 ounces of each other. And so it's kind of really, really helpful if you're selling the same type of item consistently and frequently. It just saves you a whole lot of time there. And so that's really helpful. I really like your idea of viewing it from maybe setting up a private show and then viewing it from maybe a secondary account or a family member's account. One thing to keep in mind with that is that our shipping prices are dynamic, right? So if you're like in the same city, it's going to be different than someone who's say on the other coast, right? So if I'm in Florida and Sarah is like in LA and she wants to buy something, it's going to be different than someone say who's in Florida buying from me and I'm in Florida. So keep that in mind.
Exactly.
Very dynamic. And then of course, as you buy things, there's automatic bundling, which it gets cheaper. And so we're always going to offer the cheapest option for the buyer that is available through USPS. And so that's really helpful. Here goes that Givey chat. Good luck. 10 sports cards. Congratulations. Let me get another one of these up, and we'll keep those running throughout the show. Cool. Okay, let's pivot then. So I did all this pre-show setup. I selected, the right shipping profiles. I toggled on the shipping type that I want, whether it's flat rate, whether it's priority, whatever. And then I had my show and I sold a few items. And so after the item sells, what does the seller need to do in order to get the label?
Yeah. So one great thing about Whatnot, we provide the labels for you to print and ship with. You just need to go through and generate them on Seller Hub, and you can do that on desktop or the mobile app. I find that most sellers kind of create their own process. They find the process along the way that makes the most sense for their brain. But as a general flow for you to get started, we recommend starting by printing out all your packing slips and then using those to find and pack all of your sold items into each of your shipments. And then as you're packing, if you find that you need to make adjustments to the bundling, say, they've been bundled together and they happen to not fit in the packaging that you have, or you want to change the package weight or dimensions, you can do all of that on Seller Hub Desktop and edit those shipments before you create your labels. And I'm happy to get into more details around those adjustments too. And then once you're comfortable, everything fits, I've got all my packages, then go in and generate and print all of your labels and attach them to your packages. You can do it one by one, shipment by shipment. Some sellers prefer to do that, or you can just bulk generate them all together, export out a PDF, and then send that to your printer. If you're working with a smaller quantity of shipments and you have a Bluetooth printer, you can just review each shipment on Seller Hub Mobile, see the items that are in there, pack them, and then print the label from your mobile device. But as of right now, if you need to make changes to the shipment, you need to do that on desktop.
Awesome. Very, very helpful. I see the chat. A lot of really great questions. Again, we're only going to be able to take questions that are, more broad in scope, that appeal to most sellers and not our specific cases to you. And then also we'll get to as many as we can towards the end. And so appreciate those. Also, let's take a minute and talk about some of the resources that are available to sellers right now, right? Because look, I think, if you're a new seller, there's some resources that are out there that you should absolutely bookmark and like refer to as almost like a first line of defense if you have a question. And the first one that comes to mind is help.whatnot.com, right? And so Casey, if we could please pin that in the chat, that essentially is like our all-inclusive help desk, which is kind of set up like a search engine, right? So if you're a seller and you have a question about, say it's flat rate shipping, you just type that in like you would in a Google search, flat rate shipping, and then all bunch of articles will come up that talk about flat rate shipping. And so these articles are super detailed and they're designed in a way to help you kind of like find what you're looking for easily and understand it easily. And so if you don't have help.whatnot.com sort of bookmarked or in your head, I definitely recommend that before you go anywhere else, like before you reach out to support or anything like that. You could, I would say like 9 times out of 10, you could self-serve the information that you're after right there and very quickly and very easily. Another website, which is really, really great, is selleracademy.whatnot.com. And so this is basically a website. You can think of it as like a central hub that includes a bunch of links to other resources. So from it, you can get to a bunch of other resources. There is a seller handbook there. There are community best practices. There's so much information on Seller Academy that if you haven't checked it out, I just recommend like maybe opening it now and then making a mental note to go there later this evening and kind of just browse through there. I think you'll be happy with kind of all the information there. There's it's kind of endless. There's social media templates, there's tutorials, all kinds of things, especially with regards to shipping. So you could really kind of like go down a rabbit hole on Seller Academy. And I think it's a really great way to accelerate the learning curve of how Whatnot works if you're a seller. And so definitely recommend that. And then the last resource I'll plug is our shipping guide. So there is a shipping guide that we put together, basically a PDF. You could check it out. Casey, if you don't mind with that URL. I know I'm asking you to pin a bunch of URLs here, but I think it's Whatnot. Yep, whatnot.info/shipping guide. And there you can find, again, this guide is specifically designed to answer kind of like these top questions that sellers have with regards to shipping. So again, help.whatnot.com, selleracademy.whatnot.com, and then whatnot.info/shipping guide. And we do post these shows, by the way, chat, on our YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch this. And in the description of the video, we'll make sure to include all these links. And so I know that's a lot of information. There's a lot available to you as sellers, and just want to make sure that we conveyed it to you all. Okay. And congrats to the giveaway winner. Saw that. Let's go to when packing an item. What are some of the best practices there in terms of like, okay, you sold the item, you set up the shipping profile, it's sold, you printed the label, you put it on a box. What are some best practices with regards to packaging?
Yeah, so this is really dependent on what you're shipping, but in general, you want to wrap the item itself to protect it. So that might be bubble wrap, could be packing paper, but protect each of the items. And then you want to choose quality, durable materials, boxes, bags, envelopes, whatever that is. And yeah, sturdy cardboard boxes that will really support them throughout shipping. If you're using boxes, you want to leave a little bit of space around the sides. You don't want to jam it in there. So, like 2 inches of room on all sides is great. And then if there's empty space in the package, then you want to cushion the item. So, adding more packing paper or bubble wrap. And then, you can test it out by shaking it gently and just make sure it feels secure. It should kind of be floating in the center of the box.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of look, it's the last moment that the seller has to connect with the buyer. It's like that
Yeah.
final, you think about it as like almost like a journey, right? Like somebody discovers your item, they purchase the item, you package it, and then it shows up in their mailbox or on their doorstep, and then they open it. There's nothing worse. And this happens, right? Sometimes it just happens, like things do get damaged in the post. But again, like I would recommend taking all the care necessary so that it's a delightful experience when your buyer unboxes or unpackages like whatever they bought from you. It's also a really great way to differentiate yourself as a seller. Like if you go above and beyond, like I've gotten some packages that I'm just like, wow, this seller really stood out with like
For
how
sure.
well this thing was packaged. And it made me not only just write an amazing review, but like in like subconsciously, I now trust that seller much, much more. And so
And you're more
uh,
likely to buy from them again versus, if it doesn't look like it was handled with care or packed thoughtfully.
you're more likely to buy from them again, to return. And then look, you could also, if it's a new buyer, I like to slip in like a handwritten thank you note, because like, hey, thank you for your purchase, or thank you for your business, or whatever. Here's like a sticker or something. Those little things really help you stand out and differentiate yourself from just mass sellers. And think of it as a opportunity or a vector for you to really like excel. Like if you're like excelling in how you ship and how you package, and maybe like a note that you leave for your buyers, I think it goes a really, really long way. And so um you all have probably gotten packages that are just like not really well packaged, and you've probably also gotten packages that are like really well packaged. And then like, who would you go buy from again? I think the answer is pretty obvious.
Sure.
um all right, so I'm looking in the chat. A lot of people do handwritten notes, which
Love
is
that.
really cool. um Okay, let me get another givey up. I see all these comments, chat. We have a giveaway up. We will definitely go through this transcript and kind of look at this. And if there's any feedback, it's all very important. I will make sure I share it with the relevant teams internally. And so everything here is helpful. Okay,
Yeah.
let's see. Where did we go? Where are we? I think I lost my. Um, okay, so yeah, the part that everyone wants to know is like, how do I get paid and how do I drop off? So
Yeah,
I
I'm
packaged the thing. I took great care, and
for
I even
sure.
wrote a thank you note. What do I do
Yep.
now?
Yeah. And I'm seeing some questions in the chat that I think are going to be relevant here. So I'm excited to talk about this. You definitely want to get your packages scanned to confirm them. Um, there's a bunch of ways you can do that already, where you can have the carrier scan it for certain shipment types. I understand the PWE first class mail, you can't. I'll get to that in a second. You can use the self service kiosk. If you're doing USPS, we've got bulk scan forms. But we've created a new feature for you that gives you another way to confirm your shipments when you're handing them off to the carrier, and that's the in-app package scanner. So this is native in our mobile apps. It's a new way, an additional tool to confirm your shipments, and it has a few advantages over these other methods. The first one is it keeps your buyers in the loop. We were just talking about building that buyer trust. When you scan your package, the buyer will get a shipment confirmation and they'll see a photo of their nicely packaged box or envelope on its way. This builds buyer trust. It avoids the question of when will my item ship, and ultimately create more loyalty with that buyer. The second thing is it'll protect your shipping metrics. So drop off scans contribute to your average ship time, which you want to be as low as possible. And if you're using the in-app scanner, that'll ensure that you get credit for speedy shipping. Even if you're shipping on the weekends, you can scan it and then put it in a blue box and know that it's good to go. You'll get that credit. When shipping items don't have tracking to them, like first class mail letters, the scanner will work on those. So it'll look and see, and I'll get into how it works in just a moment. So you can use our in-app scanner for PWE shipments. And then the other thing that this is great for is sometimes carriers miss or delay scans. I've seen this come in the chat a few times. And so this is a way that it can be your first line of saying, hey, this is ready to go. I've scanned it. I'm dropping it off. And then all of the subsequent scans will also feed into that as well. So yeah, and then the last like selling point I have for this new feature is providing this confirmation, whether it's through the app or getting a carrier scan. It'll help protect you in case there's issues down the road, customer support wise, around that package being delivered. So it's great for the buyer and it's good for you as well. So yeah, I can get into how to use it if helpful. You'll basically launch the scanner from Seller Hub Mobile, go into your shipments, and there's a nice big yellow button. You'll place each package in front of your phone's camera, do it one at a time. The scanner will look for the barcode on the label or the information on the envelope, and then it'll automatically match it to the correct shipment. We've found that scanning takes about 2 seconds per package. And then if you have multiple packages, you can just do them one after another and it'll confirm each of them. We'll automatically match them. We'll send the buyer the email with the photo of it. The shipment status will change from ready to ship to shipping, and then it'll count towards your average ship time right away. So yeah, I mean, that's the basics. I'm happy if I haven't been following the chat. So if there's specific questions while we're on this topic, I'm happy to answer it. Do have a couple quick like caveats. We want to make sure that you're scanning as close to drop off as possible. So ideally, I'm taking it to USPS and I'm getting out of my car and I'm scanning each of the packages. We want you to do it within a few hours of handoff. We also want you to only be scanning actual packages, so don't scan the label on your computer screen. We will know. We want you to package it, put the label on, scan that. That's what's really going to let your buyer know that their item is on the way. And then the last thing is try to remember that the buyer will see the image, so keep personal items or other packages out of the frame as well.
Amazing. Yeah, look, I'm seeing a lot of really good feedback. A lot of folks love the scanner. I think it's very, very effective, very efficient. There are some questions about the scanner, which again, I'll go through and I'll get back to you. I'll kind of share it with the logistics team internally so they can have that feedback. But yeah, it's also really fun. It's also a really cool kind of magical experience when like I buy something from you, right, Sarah? And then like an hour or two later, I get like a notification with a picture of my thing already boxed up and sort of like at the post office. It's just like a really cool experience. And so, yeah, definitely take it back. And look, for folks that might have not used it and they're like, oh man, I gotta, scan every package. Like it's very fast. Like it's incredibly snappy. Like you literally just like, I've done it where I think I had like 80 or 90 packages going out. And they're all in my garage and I had USPS come pick them up. And I just went 1, 2, 3, like you just move very, very fast. The whole thing took me like a couple of minutes. It's not a big deal. And I knew that I was also protecting my average ship time, which again is one of those metrics that as a seller, like a lot of folks look at it, like a lot of buyers look at it. And again, it kind of, you definitely want your average ship time to be, well, as fast as possible. It's another competitive kind of benchmark that you can use as a seller. And another thing that I wanted to mention, it's like we've had some crazy weather, right, in the US this last week. And this is where like scanning comes in really helpful because like, USPS is for sure backed up and there's delays and those are things that are out of your control and out of everyone's control, really. But using like the scanning, the scan drop off feature or like protects your integrity as a seller, lets the seller know or sorry, lets the buyer know that, hey, my thing's on the way. I know there's bad weather, but it'll get here. And also it protects your average ship time as well. And so just a really good feature, both for the buyers and for sellers. And also, Sarah, kudos to you and the team, because I think it's so easy to use and it's just so intuitive, and it's so fast. So great,
Awesome. I'm glad to
incredible
hear it.
work.
Awesome. I just wanted to say real quick, we're continuing to improve it and iterate it. It's a feature that we're continuing to invest in. So I think there's a couple people who are saying maybe it wasn't working for them. We're resolving a bug for phones that have low power, and yeah, we should be able to fix some of those bugs as we go. We're working on it, is what I want to say.
Yep. Yep. It's a relatively new feature. It's out there. We're collecting a lot of feedback and a lot of data around it. And the teams are going to continue to optimize it and improve it. Much like everything here at Whatnot, right? So it's constantly getting better. Okay. So some quick, maybe rapid fire follow-up. So
Sure.
these might be basic, but I think they're worth kind of going through them. So how long does the seller have to drop off a sold item?
Yeah. So like we said, we want you to do it as quickly as possible, but within 2 business days. So if you sell something on a Monday, we want you to ship it by Wednesday.
And that does also chat a lot. I get this question a lot. They're like, does that include holidays? It's like, no, it doesn't. If it's a national holiday, that is considered basically like a weekend. So just regular business days where there's no national holidays. How does bundling work behind the scenes? Any seller tips to make the most of it?
Yeah. So just as a refresher, bundling essentially means putting multiple items into a single package. And how that works is really based on those shipping profiles coming back to that. So making sure that you have those set up correctly is going to ensure that that they're bundled correctly.
Yeah. And again, it's trying to essentially make the most cost efficient shipping for the buyer, right? And so that's essentially what bundling does. Now you could like unbundle something. Say you have sold something that's very breakable and you want it in a separate box. You don't want to bundle it with another thing. You can manually do that post transaction, but it has to be done before you print the label,
That's
right? Or generate the label. Again, these are like really edge nuanced cases. And if you do fall into that category, again, you could just look like unbundling on help.whatnot.com. And there's literally like a step-by-step on how that happens. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Let's see. What's a common mistake that new sellers make during show setup?
Not double checking your show settings to make sure that it's what you're expecting. So if you're wanting local pickup to be on or off, you want to double check that that's there. If you're wanting to use USPS flat rate boxes, you want to make sure that that's enabled ahead of time.
Okay. And what's a common mistake that newer sellers make post show?
Printing labels without checking weight dimensions, bundling. For a lot of these, you can make the change ahead of time. If you need to make the change after you've already printed and created the label, it's quite a headache. So definitely recommend reviewing all the shipments, taking a look at it before you generate your labels.
Okay. And any common mistakes that you've seen sellers make during the drop-off process?
Not getting it scanned. That's a big one. So, again, whether that's waiting for the carrier to scan it, using a self-service kiosk, using a USPS scan form for larger batches of shipments, or using our new in-app scanner, definitely get your packages scanned. It'll help you out a lot.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. We got another giveaway up chat. So if you wanted to enter the giveaway, your chance to win one of these. Do you have one of these, Sarah?
I do not. I'm so sad. I need it for my wall.
I know. Well, Slack me. Maybe I can help you. I know a guy who has like a giant box of these in his closet. Okay. Let's see. Let's move on to packaging best practices, tools and setup. Okay. Where do sellers access all of their shipping settings on Seller Hub? And can you talk through the different sections and options that are available there?
Yeah, let me pull up my app here. So shipping settings, you're going to access those through your Seller Hub mobile. We refreshed this experience last year, so hopefully you guys have checked that out and you're using that. If I go to Seller Hub on mobile, go over to the menu in the top right, and then down to shipping settings, I'll get a screen that has my shipping related settings I can adjust. The first one is free pickup. So I can turn that on or off, specify the address that I want to meet potential buyers at. And then I can also adjust my default shipping services. So if you tap into for US sellers where it says domestic shipments, I'll see where I can activate first class mail letters. That's PWE. And then also choose how I want different weights of shipping to go, whether I want to use priority mail, flat rate, or USPS or USPS Ground.
Okay. And those are available both on mobile and on desktop, right, Sarah?
Yeah, you can go into Seller Hub on desktop as well and make your selections.
And also chat, sorry, when we say desktop, we mean like web. So like, through Google
Yeah.
Chrome or just like on your, I guess, big computer as opposed to your phone. Okay. When should a seller not use bundling? I think we kind of touched on this, but you want to.
Yeah. So I think anything that you don't want to ship with something else, then you would want to set a custom profile where it would not bundle with others. It'll ship standalone. So, you don't want to ship like a fragile vase and a very heavy pair of Stomper boots together in the same package. So you'd want to use your profiles to not bundle those together.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like if the thing would be better off sent individually, then that's when you would want to
Do that.
unbundle. And
Yes.
usually that comes up. Yeah, like usually that comes up with items that are more fragile
Yeah.
or crazy heavy. Let's see. Okay. How do shipping allowances work when it comes to adjustments?
Okay. So you will get 5 adjustments per week. So if you need to make a change, you can go into Seller Hub, make those changes, and if it's a covered change, then you'll get 5 allowances on that per week. So changes would be like you could bundle items into one shipment before you generate a label. You could unbundle and create separate shipments. You can change the weight and dimensions, and then you can also add in like if something needs to go hazmat or you want to add insurance or signature requirement, then you can do that as well by editing the shipment on web.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. We kind of touched on this, but maybe we kind of like go through these quickly on packaging best practices. So any don'ts on packaging? I got one. I've seen this actually.
Okay, I have one too.
Don't send your sold items in a old pizza box. I've actually seen this. I think I saw it somewhere online. Someone got a package or like in a cereal box. Like, come on, yeah, it's happened, and it's not a good look, right? Like, imagine you get that. It's just not. Chances are you're probably not going to be a happy customer and probably never return to that seller again. So I would always say like, you can get packaging for like I've gone to like Dollar General and just gone to the manager and been like, hey, do you have any boxes that you're gonna trash? And they're like, please, yes, take them. Like they're always happy to just give you flat cardboard boxes. So you don't need to go out and buy like super expensive, corrugated cardboard, but also like, yeah, don't like there's a sweet spot in the middle there where it's like gonna hold up in the shipping process, and then also like, yeah, don't the chat's popping off, but yeah, don't use an old diaper box. Don't just chat like use your head, and I think you all know what would be a good box and what wouldn't. But anything beyond that, Sarah? Any tips, like don'ts?
Another one is you can get priority and flat rate packaging from USPS for free, but you need to make sure that you're shipping it with the same shipping service level.
Yes.
So if you're using flat rate, the label needs to be flat rate. You need to make sure that those match. You can get free packaging there. I will say another one was somebody used that free packaging. Sorry if you're in the show to like use the bubble mailers as the packing material. So I got a big box full of bubble mailers and I ended up taking them back to USPS because I can't use that many bubble mailers. So I would say that's like a don't use it that way. Use it
Yeah,
if it's
that's a
the
good
shipping
one. Look,
level.
and I think that's a really good opportunity to talk about like if you're using flat rate materials, flat rate bubble mailers, flat rate boxes, you must be putting flat rate labels on those boxes. Otherwise, I don't like it. I don't think it's legal, number one, because it's a government free thing that they give you. Like I don't think it's even legal. And also it's just like you can't do that. You will probably get, in trouble for that. And so it is a federal, okay, yeah, it's like a federal law. I'm not a lawyer and I don't want to speak to like the legality of it, but if you're using flat rate shipping materials, you need to have a flat rate label on there. And kind of like what Sarah said also, don't use flat rate bubble like poly mailers as stuffing for your box. Like it's just not a good look. Again, think about how a buyer is going to perceive that. They're like, oh, this seller is ripping off the United States Postal Service. Like it's not a great look for building trust. That's a good one, Sarah. Thank you for reminding me about that. Okay. What counts as hazardous material, otherwise known as hazmat? And what should
Yeah.
sellers know about that?
Okay. The most common case that we see are lithium batteries and but also flammable items like nail polish or fragrances would also be considered hazmat. And each of those will get a special label that we'll create for you. You just need to make sure that hazmat is flagged on. You can do that when you're creating the product, and then you can also edit the shipment if you missed it along the way. I guess one thing to know is those can only ship Ground Advantage. So priority will go over air and things that are hazmat have to stay on the ground. So anything that's hazmat, even if it's bundled with other things, will end up going Ground Advantage. So if you're ever looking and wondering, hey, why is this going ground instead of priority? That might be why.
Yeah. Kind of an edge case still, but good to know. I appreciate that. People are saying that
I
this
can
is
get
very
nerdy.
helpful. And so that's fantastic.
Oh, I'm glad.
I also saw somebody worth noting asking kind of like, hey, where can I watch this later? Because we are covering kind of a lot of ground here. We don't expect you to retain all of it, or some of you might be busy and you can't tune into this entire show. So we do have a YouTube channel, the official Whatnot YouTube account. Thank you, Casey, legend. She put it right there in the chat. It's you could also just search for Whatnot app on YouTube. And there's a playlist there that has like I think the last 20 of these shows that we've done. And we actually did one last week with our CEO Grant, which was very exciting. And he kind of talked about our vision for the future and some of the highlights from last year. And so if you wanted to kind of hear that, that's up there now. And so really great place. Again, if you're a new seller, there's all kinds of good content there. Like we've interviewed tons of really, really successful sellers and asked them, tell their story of how they did it. And you can be inspired by that. We talk about new product features and updates. Everything is there. And so you could check that out. Yeah, the one with Grant was really fun, really great. Okay, we touched on this. Let's touch on it real quick. Are freebies like notes or stickers in a package a good way to stand out?
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely recommend it. Like make it feel like your brand. You take time to curate your space and your items. You want to make sure that it feels like you, and that's going to be more memorable for your buyers along the way and build that relationship with them.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to get to your questions in a minute, chat. We're going to go through a few more shipping services and cost strategies. So what is USPS first class mail letter, and why and when should a seller use it?
Okay. Yes. So this is a very low cost letter service. Only certain categories can use this, and it's for cards and stickers. There's some very specific rules around it. It needs to be under 3 ounces total. It needs to be under $20. But the reason why you might want to use this is to offer that low cost option for your buyers who are buying, especially cards. It does have very limited tracking. So buyers won't be able to follow along with the tracking status like they do with the other shipping methods. But it does, like I mentioned earlier, it does work with the new package scanner. So definitely recommend using that for your envelopes to show your buyers that it's on the way.
Awesome. And then when should sellers use Ground Advantage versus Priority?
So Ground Advantage, we have it as the default for very lightweight items that aren't going first class mail. And then it's great for heavier items as well that are Ground Advantage for that aren't time sensitive. So you want to use Priority. It's a little bit faster for faster shipping. Yeah. And then Ground would be like those heavier items, things that can go a little bit slower, and Hazmat will default to Ground as well.
Excellent. And then what is the difference between using your own packaging versus flat rate boxes?
Yeah, so you can use the flat rate boxes. Basically, as much will fit into that box will ship for that set amount. So weight doesn't matter on those. But again, you do need to opt into that in your show setting, your shipping settings before your show starts in order to enable that. And then you'll be able to use those flat rate boxes. Whereas with Ground Advantage, you want to use your own packaging there.
So there is a 70-pound weight limit, but again, that's like,
Okay.
yeah, 70 pounds. And like the saying that I've heard, which kind of helps me remember it, is like, if it fits, it ships, right? And like I said, like if you do use flat rate shipping, you can get really good boxes for free, right? And so it's a really good option if you want to consider it. What is flat rate today? It's like, I want to say $8 or $9. I know it's changed recently, but it's something like that. Mm-hmm. Which again ends up being $9.21. Thank you very much. I knew that the chat had my back on that. And so for $9.21, you could literally stuff 70 pounds in a box. It's like, that's probably going to be the most cost efficient way for buyers if they're buying quantity of things. Yeah. And then also, like, again, really good packaging material for you as a seller. You can get it for free on the USPS website. You could literally order it. It'll show up at your house. Boxes, poly mailers, whatever you want. But again, caveat that with you must be putting a flat rate label on those flat rate boxes. Okay. Let's move to some Q&A from the chat. We've got about 10 minutes to do that. And we'll do that, and then we'll wrap it up, and then we will raid. Casey, if you can find us somebody to raid, that would be sweet. All right. First question comes from SG_coins. Are we able to ship with FedEx or UPS? USPS is quite difficult in my area. Now, I know Grant mentioned some exciting things that are coming in this domain, but Sarah, if you would like to speak to that.
Yeah. Since he mentioned it, I feel like we can say we're working on enabling UPS for more sellers right now. So that will be an option coming up. And thinking about like international a little bit more broadly, we are working on generally expanding our carrier availability. We know that's something that would be great for you guys.
Yeah. So really exciting work being done there. And I guess stay tuned. Next question is coming from Roger Rog 48359. Are there any changes in the works to use the app to adjust sizes and weights of packages?
Yeah, so I think Roger's referring to, I said if you need to make adjustments to a shipment, you need to go on the website. Yes, we're continuing to invest in our mobile fulfillment experience. So we will be adding more features to allow you to really do everything that you need to do with regards to shipping on your mobile phone.
Love it. And I just put up another giveaway chat. Probably the last one we'll run. So get in for your chance to win. Let's see. Northern Auctions is asking, is max shipping per box for the whole show? I'm not sure if I understand that. Sarah, do you understand?
I don't know if I'm totally following, but I know that like basically buyers will pay for shipping, and then once it reaches £5, at some point they'll get that free shipping, and then when they reach a maximum amount, then they'll start to pay for another box again.
Yeah, and maybe they might be talking about flat rate, right? Which is like, again, you will pay that $9.21 up to 70 pounds, and so that's also probably like max shipping you'll pay. Okay, Linny Collective is asking, what happens if I mess up the shipping or use the wrong box? And this kind of goes back to you can make an adjustment before you generate the labels, but maybe it's worth touching on that one more time.
Yeah, if you need to make changes, you absolutely can. There's a lot of self-service tools for you to make those changes. Even if you've already generated a label, you can go back and create another one using Seller Hub. So you can fix a lot of those things yourself. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what use a wrong box. I don't know if I'm following that one, but
Um,
basically,
all,
are there consequences for
all good, all good. Also, chat, if there are a lot of, by the way, there's a lot of sellers on Whatnot that host basically what we call community shows where they literally just go live and they'll do a Q&A where you can ask them anything, or they'll talk about specific topics. So if you literally go into Whatnot and you search shipping Q&A, you will find shows that like sellers are hosting just to help other sellers. This is also like a really, really great resource because you can make friends, you can learn from folks who really understand it deeply, and you can also see it as an opportunity to network with other sellers in the chat. And so those are really great. And I suggest, if you have more questions about shipping, especially if it's like in your category and it's a nuanced category, like say you're shipping beauty or say you're doing like estate sales, like search for a seller who's hosting a shipping Q&A in that category. And there are a lot of great sellers who do these shows. Okay. Let's see. Deck Guidance is asking, do buyers pay for shipping for each individual purchase, or do they pay the bundle of shipments?
So they'll pay for the first, usually it's the first couple of items. Usually I see it's like by the second item, then it'll be the third or fourth or fifth will be added to that. So they're paying for the bundle, but that may go across multiple
Yes,
purchases.
exactly. And also, again, keep in mind it's dynamic. So it really depends on like where is the buyer located, where is the seller located, and then what are the weights and all these other
What are you
kinds of things. So
buying?
there's not like a silver bullet answer. The answer is it depends. Um, okay, next question. De-archivist, can you verify when the clock starts on ship time? Is it when the item sells, or when the show ends, or when I make the label, or what?
So your ship time will start when the order occurs. So when the item sells is when the clock will start running.
It's a really good question.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let me see what else we got here. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, Cherry Pez underscore shop is asking, do you have to set up shipping profiles for each show, or do they roll over?
So shipping profiles will be on the item level. So when you're creating your items for your inventory, you will select your shipping profile there. If you're bringing that inventory into your next show, it'll bring the shipping profile with it. I was going to say something else about that, but yeah, I think that kind of covers that. Oh,
Okay.
I guess I was going to say custom. If you're making custom shipping profiles, those will be saved onto your settings. So again, if you're shipping something frequently and you know the weight of it and you want it to bundle a certain way, create a custom shipping profile and you'll be able to apply that to any future items that you create.
Okay, sweet. Um, Here's a question from B Patty. So, what do y'all consider business days? And I think it's worth going over it again.
Yeah, for sure. So generally it would be Monday through Friday, but then if there's a bank holiday, then that would be treated like a weekend day, would not be considered a business day.
Yep. So, generally speaking, it's Monday through Friday, unless there's a post holiday on that Monday through Friday. Um, Lorna Lou is asking, do you recommend buying a scale for weighing items?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look,
I find it's really helpful. I use a coffee scale because I sell mostly lightweight items. So I use the same scale that I measure out my coffee on. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but I do think it's really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it is one of those like must. You don't need a lot to get going on Whatnot as a seller. You just need your phone, probably some cool inventory to sell, and a scale, I guess, to know how much the thing weighs. It's like one of those things that like you can get one for very cheap on Amazon or wherever, but it's very hard to gauge. It's like very hard, like for me to pick up an item like this phone and be like, that weighs. Like I have no idea, you know.
Yeah, I'm not good at that either.
Not very good at that. Some people are really good at that, especially sellers who have like sold tens and hundreds of thousands of items. They've become very good at it. But yeah, someone's like, that's 8 ounces. Like that's crazy. McKeith06, do I just select the item's weight size and not include the boxes and the shipping material? And so I could take that. Yeah, look, it's the item plus the weight of the box and whatever shipping materials you use. So total weight. With box and shipping, I just like to add I just add a little bit on top to account for that. And usually that works out just fine. And again, once you sell, like say again, you're a sneaker seller or you're selling coins, like you get to a point where you just know kind of like, okay, that's this much, right? Like, and but I always say like I always err on the side of like if I think it's 3 ounces, I'll probably put it at 4 or 5 ounces, right? Just to give it a little bit more buffer. Okay, next question. Anything to add there, Sarah?
No, that's great. Great answer.
Okay, cool. Next question is, I think we take one more here and then we can start to wrap. Fashion CRVT asking, if you co-host a show, who has access to the shipping labels?
Maybe you know this, Kenny. I think it's just the initial host.
Yeah. So currently the way that co-hosting works is like say I host a show and I invite Sarah to co-host with me. Sarah cannot run items and I'm still the person like, you know, you can't co-sell, right? And so that is a feature that, you know, folks have asked for and definitely something that we're thinking about down the road. It would be really good, right? If like we could both sell and then like at the end, it just knows like, these are your labels, these are your labels. But right now it's not like that. And the only way that it works is that like the person who initiated the show, who started the stream is the person who can sell items, pin items, run items, do giveaways, all that sort of stuff. And of course, at the end, have access to the labels. Okay, let's see. If there's anything else here we could grab. I think we covered all of the broader ones. Again, let's maybe talk real quick about the resources that are available to sellers. So there are, and Casey, if you could pin these as I kind of mentioned them, first and foremost, there's help.whatnot.com. This is, I should say, this is probably the most helpful resource for sellers, even buyers, because if you have a question as a buyer, you could find your answer there. Again, set up like a website with a search bar. You just kind of type in your question there and self-serve the information you're looking for. It's really, really good. Then there's also selleracademy.whatnot.com. This is a website dedicated for Whatnot sellers, and it includes links to all other resources. So there's like a new seller handbook there. There's community guidelines. There's best practices. There's a whole lot of information there. And so if you've never checked out selleracademy.whatnot.com, definitely recommend you check that out. Let's see what else is there. And of course, yeah, there's these shows that we then put on YouTube. So you can go back and watch whatever topic is of interest to you. And yes, we could definitely mention meetups. Absolutely. But also, can we get the YouTube URL up there? That would be super cool too. Okay. For sure. I'm glad that you all found this helpful. We do have a new meetups hub. And so what this is part of the community team's efforts to bring sellers together and foster that human to human connection is like these IRL meetups, in real life meetups. And we do have a new website, and Casey, you could pin that. There it is. Meetups.whatnot.com is live now. And so you could do two things on that website. Number one, you could just go there and look for events, you know, seller meetups that are happening in your area, and you can RSVP to those events. The second thing you can do is if you're a seller who's interested in hosting such an event, you could apply to host that event, and then the community team will receive your application, review it, and if it makes sense, we'll reach out and tell you what the next steps are. And so it's really, really cool. I've been to several of these events in 2025, and I look forward to going to several more this year. And it's just so cool to see like sellers across a variety of categories come together and just like they're so excited about whatnot, and they share best practices and tips, and they become friends, and like it's just a vibe, and a lot of really, really cool stuff happening in that space. Also in April, we will have another announcement for an event, for a meetup that's coming up. I see, how is safety handled at these events? So we do have security at these events, and so only people who are RSVP are allowed to enter these events, etc. And so they are managed that way, and all the RSVPs are vetted as well, right? And so like sellers who are banned, who have a lot of trust and safety issues, like they cannot attend these events. We do our best to keep it as sort of good as we can. Okay, sweet. Sarah, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time. I know that you and the rest of your team are heads down building the next cool stuff, and so thank you very much. Any parting words? Anything that you'd want to leave our sellers with?
No, just thank you guys for being here and being such an amazing community of sellers. Love creating products for you all. Thanks for having me, Kenny.
Yeah, you're welcome back anytime. You're awesome, and the chat seems to have really appreciated it, and so thank you again. And okay, with that, we will raid. We're gonna raid a. Let me see what Casey cooked up for us. Country Made, which is local snacks and treats from the Pacific Northwest. So that sounds cool. Let's do that. And of course, chat, I want to thank you guys, right? Like everyone who's here. And it's like what Sarah said, like you guys make what Whatnot is, and where we're going there with you all. And so it's very, very exciting. I feel very lucky to get to hang out with all of you all of the time. And so thank you for showing up, and thank you for being positive and for building the amazing community that we have here. So, all right, meats and sweets and freeze-dried treats. All right. It sounds like a Dr. Seuss book. And there's 26 people in there. We're going to pull up with like 400. Show some love. Make the Sellers Day. You don't have to buy anything, of course, but just show love and show the magic of community.